I got them orbs a Jagger. I got them orbs a Jagger. I got them orbs.
Just take the thumbnail. Just take it. Just take the thumbnail, bitch. Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. I'm in a silly, goofy mood today. I don't know what's going on. I'm just being silly. I'm just being goofy. The sun is shining. It feels like summer. I fucking love it. I've been singing really obnoxious songs in cursive to make them more obnoxious. Like, I don't know what's going on. My brain is going. So you're about to no, you're about to stay and you're about to hear a little bit maybe unhinged book recommendations and book you shouldn't read these books anti-recommendations, because we are getting into my April wrap-up. I'm going to tell you all about the books that I read this month, and let's get into the stats before we even get into any of my book reviews. And as always, I am showing my stats from Storygraph. I encourage you to move over to Storygraph or Fable or hardcover or Bookmori or any of those options from Goodreads. I did a whole video exploring every single book tracking website that is alternative to Goodreads, because Goodreads just generally sucks. And if you want to watch that video, see me trying them all out so you can make your own decision about what you want to try, I will link that video up above and down below. But my stats are from Storygraph. So in the month of April, I read 20 books for a total of 5,693 pages. And my mood breakdown is pretty standard. We have dark, tense, emotional, mysterious. We have a little bit more reflective than usual though. Like, okay, reflective? She was reflecting. Read 10 books of medium pace, so about half of the books I read were medium paced, 9 were fast paced, and 1 was slow paced. And 12 of the books that I read this month were under 300 pages. The other 8 were between 300 and 500 pages. I read 95% fiction this month. I did read 1 nonfiction book because I gotta keep y'all guessing. Here is my genre breakdown, mostly thrillers and mysteries this month, followed very quickly by contemporary and horror. Across all of my 20 book reviews this month, I had an average rating of 4.06. What's going on? My average rating is never above a 4. Ever. Usually I have some shit books to talk about. I'm happy to report we don't have any books under a 2.5 stars. We got 2 books that are right down the middle at a 2.5, 1 that's a 3, 3 that are 3.5, 6 that are 4 stars, 2 that are 4.5, 1 4.75, I know that's annoying, we'll get into it, and 5 5-star books for me to rave about for y'all. Here is the breakdown of how I read those pages throughout the month of April. I feel like it was all over the board really this month. I don't know what was going on. I read a lot. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my April wrap up, starting out with my least favorite book and working my way up to my most favorite book of the month. Starting out with my least favorite book, that is going to be Good Half Gone by Taryn Fisher. I read this new release thriller from my library this month because I knew that I compulsively needed to read the new Taryn Fisher book, as I do every year. But I knew that I probably wasn't going to like it because I almost never do. And so I got it from my library so I didn't waste my money buying this book. And y'all, it measured up to exactly what I thought it was going to be, which was so exceedingly average. I just rated this book right down the middle at a 2.5 because honestly, this is such a skippable and forgettable thriller. I feel like I had an okay time while I was reading it, but I instantly forgot pretty much the entire plot except for like the beginning and ending 2 days after I read it. I was literally sitting down to do my review and I was like, what the hell even happened in this book? In Good Half Gone, we are following a woman whose sister was kidnapped. She doesn't know what happened to her. She's never recovered her sister's body, and this girl wants answers. So she goes into the hospital where she suspects that something happened to her sister. Y'all, this book was so nothing, boring, unconnected to the characters, so forgettable that I literally don't even remember how the sister had anything to do with the hospital. But it's kind of like The Clinic by Kate Quinn, where she like busts in, gets a job there, and she tries to figure out what's going on from the inside out. Throughout reading the book, like, it went fast. It was entertaining while I was reading it. It was like giving fine, but afterwards it left me with literally no impression whatsoever. Never feel connected to Tarryn Fisher's characters, and I think this might be the last Tarryn Fisher book, at least new release, that I read. I still am interested in her early releases when she was indie publishing. I've heard that those are a lot better than her more recent releases, so I might give those a try. But as for future releases, I don't think I'll be picking them up, because every single time they just get like between 2 and 3 stars for me. The other book that I rated 2.5 stars in the month of April was If You See Me by Audra McGellier, and I included this one in my April new release thriller vlog. If you missed that vlog, I will go ahead and link it up above and down below. In that video, I read 4 new release thrillers, and this was probably my least favorite of the bunch. The setup was this girl going missing at a music festival and trying to figure out what happened to her through the lens of her best friend and her boyfriend, who are now getting together. So we know that one of them had something to do with it, but we're unsure. The whole book like kind of keeps you guessing. I was looking for like music festival vibes in this book, and it just didn't give me that. It was also very forgettable, very quick, very fast paced, easy to read, entertaining in the moment, but just kind of gave nothing. I felt no connections to the characters, similar to Good Half Gone. If you're a plot-driven type of thriller reader, you might like these 2 books. Don't just write them off because I thought they were average. I'm a very character-driven reader, so if I don't feel connected to the characters, I'm probably not gonna like it, and I fear that is exactly what happened with these 2 thrillers. Next up, I did have one 3-star book that I read in the month of April, and that is The Pisces by Melissa Broder. This is about a woman who is kind of confused, kind of lost, kind of trying to figure out who she is, find herself a little bit, and she does that through a relationship with a man who washes up on the beach, and she finds out eventually that he is a mermaid. But there's a lot more to the story than that. This one's fucking weird, and not in the good way. Like, Melissa Broder writes weird explorations into the female experience, and the queer female experience as well. But this one was not the brand of weird that I usually like from her. This one was not exactly my taste. It had some things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Everything was based on our main character seeing herself through the eyes of men, which I get the commentary there, but it was just exhausting to read for me and not my personal preference. I think if you like the rest of Melissa Broder's books, I don't think you'll necessarily not like this unless you have like the personal problems that I do. But this was definitely my least favorite of all of hers. I did a full in-depth, like 10-minute long deep dive review of this book in my Melissa Broder taste test video that I posted this past month. I'll link that one up above and down below too. We're just linking everything today. Getting into my 3.5 out of 5-star books. First up, we have The Weekend Retreat by Tara Laskowski. And this is about a family, all the weird sibling dynamics that they have going on, and they're all meeting up for this birthday weekend. Every year, this birthday weekend for the twins is hosted at their family winery. And this year, all 3 siblings are bringing their partners, so there's weird dynamics in there. There are family secrets coming to light. There's drama with money, and by the end of the weekend, someone is going to end up dead. I thought this one was so fun, just like scandalous rich people drama. It was kind of mindless, just like really easy to listen to. I listened to it while I was like putting furniture together in my house. It was just the perfect entertainment. I got through it really quickly. It was really fast paced and engaging, and it had some pretty good twists at the end. It wasn't like amazing, knock your socks off kind of thing, but I liked the atmosphere. I liked the twists. The characters weren't that deep, but it didn't really bother me because I was having so much fun with the story. Yeah, it was an above average thriller. I feel like I would recommend it if those things sound good to you. Next up, I also gave it 3.5 stars to Oh Honey by Emily Austen. I am picking up all of Emily Austen's books because I loved Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead so much. That was one of my best books of this past year. Thank you so much, Matt, for the recommendation. So now I'm making my way through her entire backlist, and this one was so weird. If you like Melissa Broder, you're going to like something like this. I feel like if you're a Melissa Broder fan, you should also be an Emily Austen fan. They kind of like go hands in hand. Oh Honey is about a woman who works as a telemarketer, and there's this one guy that she calls him every single day on her shift and tries to talk to him using a different persona every time. Like she'll be like, "Hi, I'm Irene," and he'll hang up on her, and she'll be like, "Hi, I'm Brenda," and he'll hang up with her. And it's just like this weird hyperfixation that she has, and she also has a lot of like mental health issues going on. It's just kind of a plotless, aimless, hopeless feeling deep dive into this woman's life as she uncovers her family trauma and the way that she has dissociated from it. It was really bleak, really weird, really trippy, but also really darkly comedic. I would definitely say look up trigger warnings before getting into this book. Lots of trigger warnings for substance abuse, suicidality, and mental health issues. So be kind to yourself if those are some of your triggers, but if you can handle reading something dark, I think this was really interesting, really unique. I gave it a 3.5 though because it did lag quite a bit through the middle. It all felt very one note, and that one note was like a very interesting fever dream, but it kind of got exhausting at some point, and I didn't love the ending. The ending was quite abrupt, and also I felt some of the commentary just kind of went over my head. Some of the metaphors, I could tell that there was something going on, but I couldn't grasp exactly what she was trying to say. It was definitely above average. I think it's super unique and has a lot to say, but not my favorite book in this style. And my last 3.5 star book is a essay collection by Melissa Broder called So Sad Today, and about half of these essays I absolutely hate and abhor, and the other half I literally think are so amazing. I went through and highlighted them. They were so relatable, so iconic. It's just for the sad girls. Like if you are looking for a Lana Del Rey coded book, please read So Sad Today. There's just essays about being a woman walking around and dealing with the fucking shit that we have to deal with and being sad about it. If you want to feel heard and validated, read this, but also it might not always hit for you because there were some things that I actually took like huge issue with. Sometimes it was kind of cringe. Sometimes it just read like so like vapid LA girl that I couldn't see the humanity in it, if that makes sense. Yeah, those were the only issues that I had, but when it hit, this book fucking hit. And I love a good essay collection. Now we're getting into the good stuff. We have my 4-star books, and y'all, I highly recommend all of these. From here on out, the rest of the wrap up, like, I'm gonna be raving. My first 4-star book I want to talk about is Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkopf. Oh my god, this book was so fun. If you like a rich people drama thriller with a game element and a reality show social media element, oh my god, you are going to love this. It felt so Black Mirror coded. It was kind of like The Passengers by John Mars, if you like that. In this thriller, we are following a group of people who are invited to compete on this live stream reality show for $1 million. And they are going through all of these challenges trying to win the hearts of America because people are going to vote live on who should win the grand prize. But over time, the competitors are realizing that they all have very weird connections to each other, and they start wondering if they're there for alternate reasons than winning this money. Secrets begin to rise to the surface, and they find out that someone is out for blood, and people start dropping dead. We are trying to figure out, number one, what is going on with this game, who created it, who's gonna win, and number two, who is the murderer and why are they all gathered here? This book was so much fun. fun. It read so fast, it was so unique, and I didn't see any of the twists coming at the end. It's not a new favorite, but it was such a solid thriller. I love the more unique plots that we're getting this year. The 2024 thriller releases are just hitting. I'm so sick of Missing Girl podcast. I don't want it anymore. I want a weird social media live stream game with rich people that want to stab each other in the chest. Like, that is what I want. And Miss Heather gave it to me. Next up, I have to talk about The Final Scene by Steph Nelson. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, y'all. I love this thriller. I feel like I maybe want to raise my rating. I feel like a 4-star isn't enough because this whole plot is stuck in my mind. The reason why I gave it a 4-star instead of a 5-star was because I didn't feel as connected to the characters, but the plot was so fucking good. Like, I'm such a character-driven reader. I didn't even care that I didn't super feel connected to the characters and there was like weird romance in it, because oh my god, this plot was so good. So unique too. We are following the perspective of a woman who was kidnapped, literally snatched off the street, stolen from her life, and held hostage in this house for 10 years. And she's not just held in this house tortured, she is tortured, but her purpose in this house is to reenact the life of her kidnapper. So the kidnapper is trying to work through their childhood trauma through the lens of these actors, which are people that have been kidnapped off the street. And she is playing the mother of the kidnapper. And it's just crazy. It's just fucking crazy. We're following her as she tries to escape, as new people are kidnapped and come in to play different roles. And everything is leading up to the final scene where our main character is assuming she's going to be killed after she completes this final scene. Absolutely unputdownable. I was addicted to reading this thriller. It's available right now for free on KU. If you have Kindle Unlimited, highly recommend checking this one out and reading it. It is so unique, really digestible commentary on generational trauma and just like diving into trauma. Obviously that's something I love in books, and I've never seen it done in such a like approachable way that didn't take away from the fun and fast-paced nature of this thriller. The only qualm I have was the like weird romance that kind of took me out of being connected to the characters, because I was like, stop trying to fuck and just escape your kidnapper. But other than that, oh my god, it was so good. The twists were insane. I was on the edge of my seat. Y'all have to read this one. I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. Next up, let's talk about Annie Bot by Sierra Greer. Wow. This is another one that the whole plot is just imprinted on my brain and it will be there forevermore. Super Black Mirror coded. If you like the show Black Mirror or a little bit of a sci-fi twist on your thrillers, you will love Annie Bot. In this book, we're actually following the perspective of an AI like robot woman who only exists to basically be personal assistant slash wife to this very rich man. She is this elite model of virtual assistant that really is more like a partner, a virtual partner for this man who just like can't get women to talk to him. And as this AI becomes more and more sentient, she begins to realize what it's like to be a human woman. She becomes aware of misogyny and just like emotions in general and relationship dynamics and how things are for women. And she realizes that she wants to escape. She doesn't want to be with her master anymore. So we follow her journey in trying to do that. And just like seeing her come into awareness is so interesting. This book is dark, it's funny, it's so intriguing, so unique. It has so much to say. I just absolutely loved it. I think it's so creative. It's not like a favorite of all time. I think there were some things that they definitely could have taken a step further and some things that could have been cut out. There was just like a lot going on, a lot of subplots. I think it could have been shaved down a little bit, and then that would have left room for the really important things to be expanded on. But other than that, I absolutely love this book. I cannot recommend it enough for fans of Black Mirror. You're gonna stan. Next up, I finally read Ask for Andrea by Noelle West Ely. This was also one that I read on Kindle Unlimited. I've been addicted to these little KU thrillers, y'all. They are getting me through. That is the reason, that is what I credit for my reading 20 books this month. And Ask for Andrea is again a really unique take on a thriller. It's a missing girl thriller. We are following 3 women who were murdered by the same man. And yes, I do mean we are following the murdered girls. We are following the ghosts of 3 women, kind of like watching from the outside as they are hoping and wishing and trying to intervene as much as they can to get their killer caught. It was so good and so emotional, like really heartbreaking but really real takes on true crime and what happens to women, especially if they're not like the perfect victim or if there's very little evidence for their case, what can truly happen. And the perspective of like following the victim in a true crime case, like after they're dead, like, oh my God, it was so emotional, so well written, and again, just so unique. If you like an emotional thriller with something to say, but still has that like heart pumping, thrilling feeling, Ask for Andrea is so great. It did slow down in the middle, and sometimes I found myself favoring certain perspectives over other ones, so it kind of made the reading experience not as enjoyable, but that was literally the only qualm that I had with this book. Other than that, so good, and available right now on KU, so go read it. Next up, we have the new release from Geneva Rose. Are we surprised? That is Home is Where the Bodies Are. Oh my gosh, I am so pleasantly surprised that I ended up really liking this thriller. I haven't liked the past couple releases from Geneva Rose. I think I give them both 1 star. So I was really nervous going into this one, but I was very pleasantly surprised. In this book, we are following 3 siblings who have to go home to pack up their childhood house because their mother has passed away. And in doing that, they discover all of these family secrets. They watch these home movies that their mom took while they were growing up, and they are finding out more and more about the disappearance of their father, which happened, I believe, like our main character, the oldest sister's like senior year of high school. Their dad just like went missing, not under mysterious circumstances. I think it was assumed that he just like walked out on his life, but things become a little bit more suspicious when they see a home movie of their dad covered in blood and seemingly confessing to a crime that has to do with a local girl. And other girls had gone missing around the area where they grew up, so they start suspecting that their dad had something to do with it. And because their mother has this on video, they're also questioning what their mother knew and hid from them their entire lives. I love the way that each character in this book has a very clear sense of self. That was something that I really struggled with the last couple Geneva Rose books that I read, was I felt zero connection to the characters. They were so stereotypical, so throwaway, so shallow. And Home is Where the Bodies Are did not have that at all. Each one of the siblings had a very different trauma response to their growing up and their like birth order and like sibling experience. I could tell that there was a lot of thought that went into crafting each one of the siblings. I loved looking at the dynamics there. So character-wise, it gets a check. I love the small town atmosphere. It felt like a Lifetime movie in the best way possible. Setting gets a check, and the plot kept me on my toes. Quite a few reveals were spaced out really well throughout the book. That gets a check from me too. It's not my favorite thriller of all time. It's not super unique like some of the other things that I read this month, but overall it was really solid and it really surprised me because I was honestly expecting to hate this book. But I'm glad Geneva's out of her flop era. We're slaying again and I love to see it. The last 4-star book that I read in April was Keep Your Friends Close by Lucinda Berry. Oh my god, y'all, never let me forget why I love Lucinda Berry so much. Please, please, please do not let me sit with a Lucinda Berry book on my shelves unread, because she is just the fucking queen of psychological thrillers with rich people drama. It's the perfect balance of like trauma, psychological rep, like really good depth to the story, and also scandal, rich people, West Hollywood Moms Club, insane drama. And that is basically my pitch for this book, because we are following a group of, like I said, West Hollywood mommies, and they're very vapid. They all have their own like thing going on. One of them ends up dead at a party, face down in the pool, and the rest of them flip shit. Like the opening scene of the book is them all being like, oh my fucking god, like what fucking happened? Like she was so beautiful and she's like wearing Valentino and like now she's dead. No, like exactly. I've been saying that. Yeah, it's very rich people drama, but it's not just that. Like, it is so interesting the way that everyone has these different secrets and lies that are coming to the surface and different ways of coping with like being on the outskirts of the friend group. There is queer rep in here, which we love to see. There is mental health rep in here, which Lucinda Berry always does phenomenally. And the twist at the end of this book, oh my fucking god, y'all. I can't even speak about the twist at the end of this book. I was sitting on sprints with my patrons literally and just like stuck like that for multiple minutes because I could not believe what I had just read. The reactions I was having while I was reading this book, it was visceral. It was full body. I will never forget the 2 back-to-back ending scenes of this book where one of them had me and the next one had me I was literally shook. So good. I love it. I also had a 4.5-star book this month, or maybe a couple of them actually. But one of them was another Lucinda Berry book, and that is One of Our Own. This is an Audible or like audio exclusive. Yeah, it's definitely on audio, not Audible only, because I listened to it on Libro FM, and this book was as close to Saving Noah as I've gotten without reading Saving Noah. Same themes, just done in like a quicker format. And the audiobook was phenomenal, like so well produced. One of Our Own follows a suicide hotline operator, and she takes this call from a girl, I think she's like 15, and she's struggling. She has these major thoughts of suicidality because of something that happened to her at school, and the 911 operator slowly starts to realize that her son may be involved in what this girl is so distressed over. So she is kind of unethical about things, and she gives this caller her personal contact information and kind of takes it upon herself to figure out what happened to this poor girl and to personally intervene and keep her from taking her own life. It is really dark, really emotionally intense, really amazing trauma rep, suicidality rep, mental health rep in general. Again, Lucinda Berry is the queen of that in her thrillers. But oh my god, this book was intense, but not in like a looky-loo kind of way, in like a, oh my god, my heart is literally about to break kind of way. The only reason why I had to knock off a 1/2 star is because this was so similar to Saving Noah that I couldn't give it a 5-star in good conscience, because Saving Noah is a 5-star, and that was so markedly better than One of Our Own. Saving Noah is also a lot longer. One of Our Own's only like 3 hours and 50 minutes long on audio, so I read it in a couple hours. Not like super fleshed out, but for what it was absolutely phenomenal. Highly recommend, especially if you like Saving Noah. Just make sure to look at trigger warnings. The other 4.5 star book that I read this month, I actually read for a Patreon reading vlog, which I had so much fun filming. If you're on my Patreon, make sure that you watched that video. It was the exclusive video that I do every single month for my top tier on Patreon. Those videos will never see the light of day here on YouTube, and they're just like fun book rec and reading vlog videos like I would usually post on my main channel, but they're just exclusive to Patreon. So if you want to see that, you can always join. It's always linked down below. In my vlog this month, I read a few books that my patrons voted on, including Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. As you can see, I had thoughts. This is a messy romance book about some British high society rich kids who have a lot of shit going on and basically just cannot get it together. That is my pitch. It is this love triangle, love square, back and forth, toxic romance that just captures what it's like to be in this kind of experience. And it does this in a very nuanced way where it doesn't necessarily romanticize it. Like, it doesn't say this is a good thing that you should want, but it also recognizes the addicting and very intense, passionate nature of a connection like this, especially when it happens so young. I really deeply related to a lot of things in this book. It was literally having me relive some of my trauma, so that was interesting. I feel like I half loved, half hated this book. It was just so fucking real. Like, it was riding the line between real and ridiculous that it was so fun to read. It was like the second the trauma got too intense, it got ridiculous, and I was like, okay, wait, I can keep reading. Hee 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 ha ha ha. Tabbed the shit out of it, obviously. Like, I really enjoyed this one. The only reason why I gave it a 4.5 star instead of a 5 star is because it left off on a cliffhanger, and I fucking hate that shit. Just tell me what happens, please. So, needless to say, I'm going to be reading the rest of this series because I have to know. The one 4.75 book that I read this month, which I know that's so fucking annoying, but I have an explanation, okay? Hear me out. That is The First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker. This was my book club book for my Pretty Girl Book Club, which I host also over on my Patreon. And we had such a good book discussion about this one. Oh my God, it was my favorite book club meeting we've ever had. So good, so nuanced, such amazing discussion with amazing women. I appreciate y'all so much. If you attended that live show, thank you so much for a beautiful discussion. This thriller, I don't even know that I would really call this a thriller. It's kind of like a deep dive into this woman's life. And we follow two timelines. We follow her as a child and as an adult woman. And as a child, the opening scene is she just killed a boy for the first time. She literally kills another child. And she's like, I'm a child killer, hee hee. But it's not like in a creepy kid way. It's in like a, oh, this child is severely disturbed way. This is just an in-depth character study on what can happen to a child when their parents are absolutely horrible to them. But then we're also following her as an adult and as a parent and seeing how that affected her in her adulthood. So it's like this full, very nuanced view of generational trauma. So incredibly well done. I mean, I could talk about this book for literally hours. We did on my book club live show. So if you're interested in watching that, you can see that. The only reason why I gave it a 4.75, so annoying, is because it didn't give me the 5-star feeling. It was so heavy and so sad that I couldn't get immersed and excited about this piece of literature. Like, usually, even when something is really dark and intense, I have this like giddy 5-star feeling. And I feel like I just couldn't even get into loving this book so much because of the visceral feelings of sadness and hate that I had for some of the characters and some of the events that happened in this book. It was so heavy, so sad. There were multiple times that I had to put this book down because it was too intense. And y'all know I'm not ever like that. I mean, I used to read extreme horror literally every day. So I'm not really like a faint of horror are about intense themes, but this one was just so overwhelmingly sad and so overwhelmingly accurate. Like it's so real, and that's just so sad that it's so real. I will literally start crying if I continue talking about this book because it was that good. Also, like, from the perspective of multiple mental health professionals, myself and a few of the girls on my Patreon, the rep is great. If you've been through childhood abuse and neglect, yeah, I hesitate to like fully recommend this to you. I feel like it would be super validating, super normalizing, and really emotional for you, but also just look out for trigger warnings and take care of yourself. Okay, I literally just stopped filming for like, I don't know, 40 minutes. I've come down from whatever manic burst of energy I had at the beginning of this video. So I'm just gonna be chill for the rest of this video. Don't mind me, I'm just a really chill girl. It's actually totally fine. Like, I'm like super chill. So yeah, just get prepared for that. All we have to talk about now are my 5-star books, and I have 5 of them. First up, the thriller that was my favorite from my new release thriller vlog in April, and that is Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. I adore this book. Similar to The First Day of Spring, this book covers childhood abuse and neglect. It is such a great deep dive psychological thriller into how 3 girls were affected by their foster mother and the secrets and lies that are coming to light in the dual timeline as these 3 are now adults, and they're alerted that bones were found on the property in the house where they grew up with their foster mother. There is so much character work done in this book. If you're a character-driven reader, this is definitely going to work for you, but if you're a plot-driven reader, don't worry, because the plot is also very strong. This had that extra element of plot that gave the exciting, heart-pumping thriller feeling. The twists were so great. This is what First Day of Spring needed just a little bit of to make it a 5-star book. I was on the edge of my seat. I just love Sally Hepworth's writing style. My favorite thriller of the 2024 releases so far is Darling Girls. I also read Come Closer by Sarah Gran. This is a horror book about a woman who is being possessed, or she fears that she's being possessed by a demon. So she is trying to hide it from her husband and just kind of like hee ha ha ha, like going about her life, but internally everything is shifting for her, and she thinks that she's being possessed. There's really great commentary on like maybe she's just becoming a woman, getting older, waking up, realizing that she doesn't exactly want what she thought that she wanted, what society told her that she wanted, which was to be married and have a child. This was such an easy 5-star, the perfect exact commentary that I like in a horror book. It's set in, I think, like the 90s. If it's not, I'm sorry, but it gave a 90s vibe for sure in New York. So it's very atmospheric, and we are just following this woman as she is trying to figure herself out and also figure out the demon that is inside her. It's really creepy. It has a really great horror writing. Like, the actual words on the page are so chilling. Every single paragraph, you could tell, was very well crafted, very effective in conveying not only the messaging and the metaphor of the book, but also the horror of it. It didn't skimp on either one. It was the perfect balance. I loved the feeling that I got reading this. I remember I couldn't put this book down. I literally carried it around my house as I did different tasks. I was like reading it on my Kindle and watering the plants, and like plants were overflowing with water, but I couldn't look away from the page. I had to keep reading it. It was so immersive and so good. Another one of my favorites this month that got 5 stars is Death Valley by Melissa Broder. This was the standout from my Melissa Broder taste test. We are following a woman who is grappling with grief around her relationship and her father, who is in the hospital and she believes is passing away. She just gets out of town and goes on this desert getaway to try to recenter to write her next novel. And along the way, she ends up going on this hike through the desert where there's this massive cactus, and she climbs inside of it and has like a psychedelic trauma reliving experience, and she starts to just kind of get to know herself and figure out what it is to be with herself and to be with her grief and to work through her relationships and her generational trauma and how her relationship with her father has affected her and affected her relationships with other men. It is so well done. It just stabbed me in the chest like quite a few times and kind of turns into like almost a survival horror book halfway through, as she is lost in the desert in this cactus and like so much is going wrong. It's like half trippy psychedelic exploration of being a woman and dealing with woman things, and then half survival horror on the edge of my seat wondering what is going on. It's also beautiful. Like, it has beautiful visuals, really in-depth character study that, you know, I appreciate as a character-driven reader. I loved everything about this book. This is what Melissa Broder does best right here. I don't know what happened with the Pisces. Maybe it just didn't resonate with me. I don't know. But this, yeah, I'm here for it. Next up, we have to talk about This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. Y'all, I am a Kennedy Ryan stan. After reading this book, oh my god, it made me sob on a plane, crying my eyes out in the window seat. And the people that were sitting in my row were like, what the fuck is going on with her? Because I just like viscerally felt every emotion in this book. We are following a mother who at the beginning of the book has a husband, and by the halfway point of the book she does not. Honestly, the first half of this book reads like a psychological thriller. This woman finds out that her husband is doing all this nefarious shit and she has to bounce back from that. So it's like thriller at the beginning, and then it switches into like a romance internally. Like, this woman is finding and falling in love with herself, but in the background of all of that there's this guy, and he's a single dad, and he really wants to date her, but he's going about it so respectfully and really honoring the space that she needs to fall in love with herself first. And then they end up having their romance in the latter half of the book, which is so adorable, so healthy. I absolutely loved their connection, but really the standout of this book was our main character. She is an influencer, and she was literally influencing me through the pages of the book. I was writing down recipes that I wanted to make that she made. I was writing down cleaning tips that she was sharing, and I bought one of the books that she read in the book, this fictional woman, and I bought a thing of jasmine oil because apparently it was like so intoxicating and she would wear it all the time. And literally I ordered it because of this fictional woman in the book. I kid you not. Cameron was like, what is that? What is that scent you're wearing? I love it. And she said in the book, she said it's man bait, and she didn't lie. She didn't lie. Oh my god, I love her. I love her. To me, she's real, and she's a real influencer, and I wish the best for her. And I just felt so connected to her. I haven't felt so connected to a romance in so long. I cannot wait to read more from Kennedy Ryan. This is my favorite romance of the year so far. But my very best top favorite 5-star book that I read in April was Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This book is so good. We are following a girl who has a breakup, moves to a small town, and is kind of starting her life over. And she's starting her life over in a way that's very slow, very intentional, very kind to herself. It's a quieter life than the life she had in the city. And she's really just about like going to the farmer's market, reading her book, taking care of her cat, la-di-da, just being a girl and re-centering. Well, one day at the farmer's market, she meets this girl at a booth selling like cute little soaps and cupcakes, and she's like, so I didn't think I was queer, but I just met her and now I fear I'm queer. It captures the bisexual experience just so well. Our main character finds herself in a really awkward, really sweet romance with this girl from the farmer's market. But this is a horror book, and she slowly starts to find out that something is not quite right with this girl that she is so drawn to. Exploration into feminism, queerness, body horror, and so much more. I could see where this book was ultimately going with the horror aspect like a mile away, but I didn't care that I predicted it because the suspense building was so effective. I was on the edge of my seat, like gripping my body so tense the entire time I was reading. It was the perfect balance of like gorgeous, beautiful visuals and descriptions of this sweet relationship, and also this sense of unease in the background that exploded in some of the most visceral body horror I've ever read. It was phenomenal, and I'm so glad that I read it. This was actually sent to me during my Patreon like book exchange. We did a book exchange on my Patreon, and Leah sent this to me. Thank you so much, Leah, for picking this out. I don't know if I ever would have got this for myself, so thank you so much. I loved it. And thank you to another one of you who commented on my haul video when I mentioned getting this one from Leah and said that is the most disgusting book I've ever read, 1 star. That is the comment that actually encouraged me to pick up this book and read it, because I love super disgusting things that people give 1 star. I usually end up liking, and I did. I'm obsessed with this book. Easy 5-star, iconic. So those are all of the books that I read in the month of April. I hope you guys got a few recommendations. Thank you so much for watching my April wrap up. If you made it to this point, leave me, what kind of emoji should we leave down below? April showers May flowers. Leave a raining cloud emoji or a flower since it is now May, or both if you want to be extra super cute, to let me know that you watched the video all the way through. And you can like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I noticed that 50% of my viewers are not actually subscribed to my channel. Can you imagine if all of y'all subscribed? The reach that I could have to give other people these amazing book recommendations. So subscribe to my channel. And if you want to be a real overachiever and get all the extra content, you can also join my Patreon. And of course, don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!